Yeah, that happened. At least I have all my teeth. I've got 1 week to get this done while my son and my wife are out of town, so the pressure's on. My son just purchased his first home at the age of 24. I am proud of him. It's a fixer-upper, but he got it at the price of condos in the area. And this one has no HOA, you know, because it's a single-family home. This was my first system that I installed 100% by myself. On top of it, it was a relocation, so it wasn't like I just took the old one out and put the new one in. I had to actually move everything, which was fine. I just upped the ductwork from 10 inches to 14 inches from the furnace to the middle of the house to compensate for the airflow. You'll see in the video that it's almost like the unit's in the middle. And I had to abandon some gas lines that were leaking in the house already and start over with that. Well, here goes nothing. Well, this is where I'm at so far. I just removed that from up here. And then that's the discharge. This side will be the return. And I'm going to use those pieces after I cap those holes and attach that, extend the return all the way over where the furnace is going to be. I noticed that wire wasn't capped. It turns out this whole loop here is dead, but it just goes to this old fluorescent light that's going to have to come out. Kind of shocking at first. Get it? Putting the filter tray in. Make sure it's sealed. If you notice, I'm using the screen roller and it's on top of an old piece of carpet to give it some flexibility. That's my first attempt at an end cap. I'm going to spread these out and I don't know, hopefully it'll all work. Probably should be wearing gloves. Measurements came within a 1/16 of an inch both ways, so it should work. Doesn't look great, but we'll see. I use this tool and it makes these locking points. That's my first one. I think it came out okay. It was a little fun wrestling with it, but I'm happy with it. Now I just got to smear some stuff in the corners. Alright, this is my second cap. Just capping where the old furnace is. I still got to do this one. But it came out better. There's definitely a learning curve. Well, that didn't last long. I already broke my first tool. Looks like it's made out of cheap pot metal or cast aluminum. The hinge point is the thinnest point. Quick trip to the store. Had to buy me a US made one. It'd be nice if it had a spring in there to spring it open like the other one. That was kind of nice on the other one. But it's pretty hefty. I think it's going to last the rest of my life, as long as I don't lose it. So I got the left and right side, and the opening is not really square, so I'm going to use a piece of cardboard, make a little stencil, and then I'll mirror it on the back side. Okay, there's the measurements. I went straight up and down 12 1/4, and you know that top angle is off. So then I went from here to the top there was 13 inches, and then across the bottom was 15 1/2 to make it in there with those S-cleats. This was my starting point. So we'll cut it out with scissors and fit it up first before we start cutting the sheet metal. All right, there it is. And it looks like it fits pretty good. And I made a mistake. I needed to add another inch so that I can make the flange at the bottom. So it looks like this. So it'll be an inch out, and then I'll fold it a 1/2 inch to make that lip so that I can screw it in the top of the coil. Inside, back. I'll make a flange on this edge. Got to be on a hard surface so you can fold it. The curved handle is making it a lot easier to bend. You're not bending your wrist as much. And this, you just want this to be a 90. And we doubled it up so it's a little bit more meat. And we're going to be driving zip screws through here. Measure once, break and fold, and you can cut the other piece for the back part. And then we just keep working it back and forth to break your S-clips off, your screwdriver, and spread them out a little bit. Because after you cut it, you're smashing it, so you got to open it back up. And this one's the back, inside. I got much respect for you guys that do this every day. I'm sure you guys got better techniques than me, since this is my first time playing with sheet metal. Oh, okay. Alright, so we got the back piece in. Put the front piece in. I noticed on the back side that this S-clip, I should have it a little bit higher so that the flange piece can go up underneath it. Alright. That felt pretty good. Angle. Put this on. And I'm probably going to put some screws for now to secure it so it don't keep moving around. At least on one side. Probably the back side because it keeps moving. This side seems to be staying there. Okay, before we close this end up, I'm going to hit all the corners with duct tape, or not duct tape, with aluminum tape and duct seal, because you can see some daylight through there. Let me move the, see, you can see daylight. So those holes need to be fixed. Yeah, so I'm going to do that right now. This off. This edge is so damn wrinkly. Okay, take two. We're going to put the back in first, since that's the worst wrinkly edge. I know it's more work, but I'm reusing all the old sheet metal, or as much of it as I can, to save some money. Alright. Duct seal in a tube, or you can use silicone. And I saw on the No Way Guy channel this cap, and that's it. It seals it. Remember when I said I should have wore gloves? So now it's Wednesday, and I've been working on the sheet metal since Monday. It's been a struggle. I've never done sheet metal before. I watched a ton of videos on how to do sheet metal. Until you get your hands on the sheet metal and start bending stuff and making your bends and stuff, you really don't know what you're doing until you get a few hours playing with it. All right, I drilled the hole and I shoved the line set in. This is 3/8 and that's 3/4 underneath this insulation. So then it's kind of going across here. And now I've got to make my bends to hook up to the evap. I cut off a little piece and I'll put that back on after I make the bends. Actually worked out pretty good. It's a VEVOR tool, or VEVOR, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, and from what I understand, you just put the handle where you want it to end, and that way it'll make it bend. Anyways, we'll see what I'm talking about. And then you pull it back to drop the die, or whatever you want to call that piece. And I want to end it right here at the top piece. Just thought of something. I'll be up here with that, so technically I could just come across instead of making such a tight bend, and come across and 90-degree elbow right here. Either way I got to do that. Maybe have a plan next time. Okay. what are you gonna do? What's gonna happen, right? Went a little further than I wanted there, but whatever. We'll figure it out. Be nice if this I-beam wasn't here, but what are you gonna do? Probably a little drastic, but why not? Be nice if this thing had a spring to spring this thing back. Would be nice, because this kind of goes up and down by gravity. Whoops. Of course, that's how you change them. So this goes kind of like gravity. If it had a return spring, that would be kind of nice, but whatever. Okay, I took the cover off the evaporator coil and I pulled back the insulation for the pipe here. And in there, if you can see that, there's a little window there. There's a piston in there. The condenser that's outside came with one that matches for that condenser. So this coil can be used for other condensers. So I'm gonna change this piston out with the one that came with the condenser. Here's the condensing unit. Right next to the lines, there's a bag here. And we're gonna take that. There's a sticker on there too. We're going to take that into the house and then we can change it on the evaporator coil. I noticed that it's reduced here and then it comes to a bell here. So I'm hoping I can just cut the tip of this off and shove that in there, because this is the fitting I got. As you can see, the AC copper is smaller than the standard plumbing copper that you get at the store. Put them next to each other close up. Oops. They're both 3/4. But the AC fitting is actually 3/4 on the inside. The standard fitting, wow, it's 885. So it's actually bigger, a lot bigger. I mean, it's so big that you can't even use the outside of this one and fit it in this one. See the gap? That's something I didn't know. And luckily when I did my research, I figured it out before I started the project. And I just bought a kit with 3/8 and 3/4. Just thought I'd share that in case you didn't know. When you cut this, it'll let some nitrogen out to let you know that it's not leaking, I guess. Hope it's not enough to throw this thing in my face. Okay, I can't get all the way around because this is in the way. And it's all thin aluminum lines, so I'm going to undo this and see if I can push it out of the way so I can get the cutter to go around, I guess. It seems to have a lot of room there. There we go, I think I got it. Yeah, that happened. That's a lot more air in there than I thought. Son of a bitch. Excuse my language, but that sucker nailed me in the frickin' chest. At least I didn't put my face like right there. That would have been fun. Okay, once you start hearing the air come out, stop cutting till the pressure comes down. I did not expect that. That was interesting. You HVAC guys probably laughing at me right now, but that was very interesting. This is the side I'm sticking in there, and it won't fit because when I cut it, I compressed the hole. So I got this tool. We're gonna see if it works. Don't use any lube, because you don't want any lube in there. So we're just gonna drive this in there dry. Hopefully we won't have any more surprises like that. Ooh, this sucker gets hot. Oh, better put some gloves on, hold on. Ooh, it's still a tight fit. Get rid of the ridge. Sure none of those metal things get in there. Yep, that's what we want. This is my Scotch-Brite pad and coat hanger. I don't know if you've ever seen that before. Oh yeah. Just in case there's anything in there. I wonder if I could have just unloosened this to let that air out instead of doing it the way I did. Take this off. That way I can change that piston. Oh, what the hell is this? There's a little washer in there, don't lose that. Open this up, and they actually give you a wire, a real small wire with a hook on it. You can pull the other piston out. Oh, and I gave you another washer, so we'll take that other one out. There we go. Okay. Notice the O-ring or the washer on the tip. So that's the side we're going to put in with the new one. This is 063 and we're putting in an 057. Let me show you this other piece. This came with the coil. So between the two of them, they come with everything you need. We'll take this washer, put it on there. Where's the nut at? Took the cap off and put the cap back on. I don't know how it works, but they're talking about all the lines being dehydrated, so you want to keep capping everything and not letting too much moisture, you know, because it's humid and you don't want too much moisture getting in. Don't forget to put the nut on, and then that'll go right here. All right, I'm gonna leave that hand tight just for now, and I'm gonna put something in this hole in a minute here. I don't want to leave all this stuff exposed too long. Since this is already vertical, I'm just gonna use my ridge reamer and ream this out, get the burrs off of here so there's less restriction, and then I'm gonna clean it up and then hook it on. Before you do any soldering, put this grommet back on because there's no slit. I mean, worst case scenario, I guess you could cut it and then slip it on after, but I'm gonna slide this on and just make sure it goes far enough back. Oh, and these washers come off, because this one's gonna get the most heat. This one sticks out far enough, so I probably won't have to worry about that. Okay, this is the stuff I'm going to use. Stay Bright 8. I'm not going to braze it. I'm trying to do this as user friendly as possible. Put the flux only on the inside diameter fittings. We don't want to get it in the pipe, from what I understand, because you don't want to contaminate the line. So don't do it like this, because that'll just shove it in there. Basically put it on the male ends. Make sure they go all the way on. Now we got to do this one. Ha! I got lucky on that. It's just like the right length. Got a piece of Scotch-Brite, just small enough to stick in here. Don't lose that O-ring. Oh yeah, that's clean in there. So that one's ready to go. We'll put this back without losing that white seal. Take this cap off. Oh, awesome. They smashed this end. What is going on there? Alright, might as well just go for it. We're only going to put enough solder for the thickness of this, so like that. A little less. Don't burn your eyebrows. This would be a nicer tool if you could turn the flame on and off without having to turn the knob, but I like it. Now I just got to put it somewhere so I don't melt anything. I did notice it was kind of warm, so I'm going to put a wet rag. I guess I probably should have done this beforehand. I'm not going to get it near the actual solder joint, but I'm going to put it over here just to cool this off for now, because it seems to be radiating back. Okay, now it's cooled off. I'm going to verify by visually looking. From what I understand, Stay Bright 8 does not like big gaps. I did have a little bit of a gap at the bottom, but the drip itself filled it. I always set my clutch at like 4 or 6 depending on the size of the screw. Okay, the pad's level. Anyways, it's as level as I can get it. This cardboard was sitting on top of the condenser. I marked where the lines are, and it's pretty much the right fit, so I'll know exactly where to put this cardboard and where the lines need to be. And we should be good. Oh, by the way, 2.5 inch hole. This comes out to 2.375, so it still fits in the hole, but tight enough to where I can put silicone. 3/4 hole. Don't forget your thermostat wire. I just remembered. I had to do this off camera because it was frustrating because it was really windy. Not a lot of space back here. I got this pitched down away from the house, so I'll fill this up with silicone. I just gotta finish the electrical now. Okay, it's done wired in. Got the ground and the 2 hot leads. And this is only gonna run off of 15 amps, 15 220. And then thermostat wire, I ran that up underneath here, trying to protect it from the sun. I siliconed everything. I made sure this tube, I mentioned it already, but this tube's leaning outward or pitched away from the house. That I could not pitch it away. It wasn't long enough, but the silicone's the good stuff, you know, made for fireplaces and stuff like that. The main disconnect minimum is supposed to be 4 feet, between 4 and 6. Well, I'm not gonna make it 6, so it's 4 foot. Just a heads up, this takes a 9-volt battery and doesn't say anything on the package about it. That would have been good to know. Okay, the manual says 450 for 15 minutes. I'll show you my setup here. So far I got a little over 150. I'm guessing, I don't know, I'll go up to 350. If we can hold that much pressure, it should be good. And then the setup I got down here is my nitrogen bottle. The yellow hose goes to that. The red hose goes to the high pressure side. The blue hose goes to the low pressure side, which is a thicker 3/4 inch pipe or tubing. And I couldn't use the Schrader valve removal tool because this pipe, I put this in the way. And don't go bending it because it seemed to want to move down here and I don't want to cause a leak. So I just put this flexible line here and then hooked up my blue line to that. And some whistling noises and stuff, so I'm just gonna stop at 300 and see if I can, let's see, lock that down at, I don't know, just over 300. I'll just, oh wait, shut the valve off. It's got to stabilize. Okay, let's run more. All right, we'll turn the regulator on the nitrogen bottle up a little bit more. Probably shouldn't have it in the sunlight because it'll probably change. Anyways, it's just under 300. I think that's plenty. I will check back in 15. I don't know why I'm such a chicken. I'm just gonna go up to the 350 mark because I can't tell where 450 is. I'll just go to 350, hold it there. That way I know for sure I can sleep at night. Maybe you'll hear the sound I heard when I don't know if it's the Schrader valves whistling or what, but I'll be quiet and you can try to listen to see if it happens. Oops, going up quick. That's the sound I'm hearing. So I don't know if it's pushing through stuff or what's going on with that. I don't know. First time for me, so I don't know. All right, seems to be stable around the 350. Well, it uses a lot of nitrogen in that little bottle. That's stabilized. I got the blue valve shut off now. I'm gonna leave it like that and come back in 15. I started at 9:08 and it's 9:23. 15 minutes. It looks the same to me. Maybe a half a notch. It's hard to tell. I'm gonna call it good on the pressure test. I'm gonna put the evacuation pump on here and see what happens. I was reading in the manual or their instructions to remove the Schrader valve while you're doing the evacuation. I turned off my nitrogen and I'm gonna have to bleed off the system, and I'm gonna bleed it off using this valve here. So I'm gonna take the blue hose off and just let it blow out through this hose. Schrader valve won't let it out. Fail number 1. This would be a good way to learn how to use this. So you pull this out, there's your Schrader removal tool. This is a different setup, so this don't even fit in there. Fail number 2. Now I'm just gonna let it out through the valve. Oh, that's right, that's got a Schrader valve too. What the hell? Fail number 3. Boy, there's a lot of air in there. This Schrader valve removal thing doesn't seem to want to lock onto the valve itself. I might lose this. I think I'm just going to let it out slow. The pump's just going to have to do its job. Figured it out. You just have to put a little pressure and pop it on there to lock this thing on there. I was just being a little worried about damaging it, so I didn't shove it in there far enough. But yeah, I pulled it out. So now it just kind of stays on here. And we'll hook it on to the other side and I'll show you my setup after everything's set up. I'm going to use this VEVOR or VEVOR compressor rated for 7 CFM. Sticker here to let you know to take the exhaust cap off before operating. That would have been another mistake. I just got to figure out how to take it off. Why is everything so hard today? Okay, it's just a little rubber. It's just so new, it's tight, so I couldn't get it out. I don't want to mess up that sticker because I know in the future I'm going to have to see that. I might forget. Can't really see. I don't really see an, oh, there's an on and off switch in the back. Okay. Boy, I'm in a tight spot right now. In the install book, it does recommend removing the Schrader core. Down here it says it has to be below 500 microns for a minimum of 10 minutes, not to raise over 1,000 microns and remain steady. And that's considered a leak-free system. We'll see how it goes. And I did eventually get it set up the right way. I had to take these screws right here off of the valve. So the valve is like, I don't know, mounted to the casing. So I took the screws out and it gave enough room. And then I bent this tube just a little bit, making sure I don't kink it. I was able to get that Schrader valve removal tool on and this hose directly hooked up. And then it only took like 5 minutes to bring it down to 330 and it's working. We're holding at 330. I was getting nervous there for a minute. All right, it's upside down, but it's 330. That happened at 11:51. So it just has to stay under 500 within 10 minutes. And it hasn't moved in the last 2 minutes. So far it's looking good. Okay, I didn't have the camera on when I did this though. What I did is while the pump was still, you know, vacuuming the system, I shut off this isolation valve that's on that's kind of built into that Schrader valve removal tool. And then I shut the valve here on the pump, shut that off, and then I shut the pump off. Yeah, so that's how I did it. So off, off, and then off. And that's how I did that. And man, we're just holding 330 in the sun even. I don't know if that makes a difference. But I'm happy. I'm gonna cover up with cardboard so I don't know if the sun's gonna mess up that gauge or not. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. We got up to 360. I don't know if it's the heat. It did move a little, but it stayed under the 500 and way under the 1,000 that says, I guess 1,000 microns is still acceptable, but it's still under the 500, so we're good. I tried to cover it with cardboard. It changed a little bit, but it's still doing what it's supposed to do. Now we let the Freon refrigerant into the system, starting with the high side. So let me get my tool. All right, I'll set you up here. We're still at 360. Open up the low side first, all the way. Stops all the way at the top. Now do the high side or low side. Boy, that one's a tight one. I don't know if you can hear it, but I heard the Freon going in. Okay, that's done. The cap's back on. We'll snug these up. Now, it's isolated here, so we take this hose off. Okay, so that's off. Slide this collar back up to the stop because you don't want to hit that against the valve or the isolation valve. Okay, so when I open this, there'll be pressure up to this cap. We'll push this down. Somehow get a grip on it like this. We'll push this down with my thumb and then screw it in. So this should pop a little bit. Okay, I can feel pressure. So now we got to push it down. Oh boy, from what I understand, this is how it goes. I can feel it going down and I can see it. Okay, it's seated. So now, see it's pressure to push out. We can close this up. Now we're gonna take this off. Just take the removal tool part out and spit a little bit, that's good. Now slowly open this up. Make sure that there's no leak. Okay, we're good. So now just take that off completely. That's off. If you didn't know, these units, or these condensing units, come pre-filled and pre-charged, ready to go. So they're just shut off, waiting for you to do your lines and making sure all the pressure is good, and then you open it up and it'll fill the system, and they're good for 15 feet of line set before you have to add. I'm at roughly like 14 and 9 or something like that, almost 15, but So we should be good to go. Oh, I'm going to take this one off. This one already has a Schrader still in it, if I can remember. We'll find out right now. Let me put this cap on first here. That cap's on. I'll take this gauge off. No pressure there. And then I'll open this slowly. Yep, we're good. I'll put these screws back. I got a little bit of a mess. Just letting you know, I did pressure test the gas line. If anybody wants to know. Seems to be pretty quiet, running smooth. Inside it's 69 degrees at the furthest part of the house. And this is the vent at the furthest part of the house, because we installed the unit all the way on the east side of the house, so we're on the west side right now. Still dropping. I don't know if it's going to drop a little more or not. And then this is the closest vent to the unit, which is looking pretty steady and nice and cool. And then this is the intake vent in the upstairs. This is the temperature outside in the shade. We got an estimate from a local HVAC company, and they wanted $14,750. Since my son just purchased the home, he was on a budget, so that wasn't going to work. So we had no choice but do it ourselves. In the end, it ended up costing only about $6,000. That included a new water heater, because you know the other one had to break as soon as I touched it. And it was well worth it because I learned a lot and some cool tools too. Of course I can use those over and over again. It's an 80% efficiency furnace. I feel like it's a decent system, and future repairs won't be that bad because the parts are really cheap. Let's talk about the rookie mistakes that you've seen in the video. Come fall, my son said he turned the heater on and it was fine. Well, when it really started getting cold, he started realizing that it wasn't working. He called me and it sounded like it was short cycling. In the fall, I was gonna go over there and set it up for him, make sure everything was working, but he said it was working. Then when it got really cold, I had to go there and actually find out that I did not turn on the gas valve. It's just an on and off switch on the gas valve. And what happens is the inducer motor comes on, make sure that the exhaust pipe is not plugged. Then the igniter starts glowing, and then the gas valve is supposed to click on and fire, and then the flame sensor senses the flame. But because the flame sensor didn't sense the flame, it would start that cycle over again, and it'd do it 3 times and then shut off completely. That was something I learned. I didn't know about all that stuff until I had a problem. But now the system is running smoothly, fine. It works. I know it works good in the summertime because he had that thing down to 68 degrees when it was like 90 something degrees outside, and I had to tell him to turn it up to at least 70. You're not supposed to run it that low anyway, because I guess the Freon inside, the compressor can suck liquid and ruin the compressor pump. Brand new system, we don't want to do that, right? That tubing on the outside, I should have just came straight into the condenser instead of having that 90. I mean, it was only 3/8 line. I should have just took the time and bent that straight in, and I wouldn't have had clearance issues. One channel that I want to give recognition to is Dave over at HVAC DIY. If mine wasn't very clear, because I was kind of all over the place, I was struggling with that tubing and stuff like that. If you want more clear instruction, I would go check out HVAC DIY. Dave's got a lot of good information. I'm just a regular guy that has some experience. Luckily, my Fona Pro out in California, I did help him install the system in my house out in California, so I did have an idea of how everything is supposed to be put together. He did mention that HVAC is kind of one of those trades that you pretty much touch every trade. I mean, you're touching electrical, plumbing, sheet metal, just a bunch of different trades, and they have to all come together to put this system together. I don't want to discourage you from trying to do this yourself. There's plenty of information on YouTube, and worst case scenario, you could call somebody out and hopefully they can fix your mistakes. You just have to be mindful of what you're doing and realize your comfort level with certain tasks and certain trades. I mean, like the gas line situation. I've dealt with natural gas before in California in my other house, so I know how to make sure there's no leaks. That's a very important thing. And of course, electrical is very important. You want to make sure you know how to wire everything, you know. So I didn't put it in the video, but me and my son had to rewire his house too because he still had the screw-in fuses from 1960. So we upgraded that, but I didn't put that on video because I don't feel like the average person should be playing with electricity, at least not a whole main panel like we did. And I don't want to put any misinformation out there because every state's different. Every inspector, they have different standards. So I don't want to get you into trouble doing that. For example, I did the electrical on my pole building. I looked on YouTube, and the box I see in the video, I thought the meter socket box was a standard meter socket, but you know, it turns out where I live, outbuildings have to have a bypass lever, you know, and that cost me. You know, that was probably like $200 mistake. I don't want to waste your guys' money. You're going to have to do your own research, talk to your local inspector, whatever you got to do to figure that part out. Luckily, I have a PhoneAPro, which is my best friend that was in my wedding, and he's out in the West Coast, and he told me I could phone him anytime if I had any questions on what I was doing. I put products in the description. If you're interested, you can go down there and check those out in the description. Well, thanks in advance for that. We need all the help we can get to keep the lights on. As always, thanks for watching and keep it on the sunny side.